Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about logical operators. Now in our last JavaScript video we talked about comparison operators. So we were able to compare variables and values. So this video will be similar, but rather than just comparing one value and one variable, we can check multiple variables or multiple values in the same conditional statement. So I'll show you what I mean now in a second. So like every other coding example that we've done, we're going to go and start by creating our JavaScript file. So I'm just going to paste in logicaloperators.js. This is the name of my file. And we need to think about something that we want to compare, right? So imagine the last time if we were comparing a variable, let's say maybe age to a number, right? So if we just go back to our previous example for a second, we can see here we had a variable named age and we were comparing it to the number 24. So we wanted to see, was it greater than, or was it equal to, or was it smaller than, depending on what conditional statement, and this is our conditional statement, depending on which one of those we used. So we could actually copy this example. So we could just copy this and bring it into our logical operators file, and we're just going to change it up a little bit, right? So rather than just checking that this age variable is maybe equal to 25 or it's greater than or it's less than, maybe we want to check that our age is greater than 18 but it's less than maybe 65. So let's leave our age at 25, and within our console log I'm just going to get rid of our statement for the moment. And as I said before, we want to check to see if our age is greater than 18, and then we're going to check if our age is less than 65. So to start off with, we have our age variable, so we'll say age, and we want to see if age is greater than, so we'll use the greater than sign, and we want to make sure that it's greater than 18, okay? But now I also want to check to see is the age less than 65. So you'd be thinking it would be something like this, age, the less than sign, and then 65. Okay, so you can probably see our age variable is underlined with a red squiggly line. So this is not a good sign. It means we have a problem. So in the previous video you would have seen either this statement or this statement. You've never seen both of them together in our conditional statement with inside our brackets. So one way that we can check for both is by using an AND operator. And our AND operator is represented like this. So if you've ever seen this symbol on your keyboard before, you might have seen it before, you probably haven't used it. So if you go and look at your keyboard, you'll see the number 7 on your keyboard. So if you hold down the shift button and then you press number 7, you'll get one of these weird looking AND signs, okay? So we want to put those AND signs in between our two statements, and not just one of them, because that's something different. We have to use two. So if we use two like this, we can go and then run our program. So I can go up here, I'll hit run, and then we'll get our output down here. So this is true, because if I'm 25, my age is greater than 18, but I'm also younger than 65. Now imagine if I was to change this up a little bit. Imagine if I was to put maybe 16 here. So the problem with this is if I'm 16, I am younger than 65, but I'm not greater than 18. So this should return us a false value. And we're going to run this just to make sure that we're correct. And you can see we get false here. And it's the same if we put a value that was greater than 65, like let's say for example we put in 68. So if we have 68 in there and we go and we hit run, we'll see a false value as well. So that's one of our logical operators that we can use. That's an AND. Now along with using an AND, we can use an OR and we can use a NOT. Now if you've looked at our videos in relation to logic gates, this probably makes a lot of sense to you. If you haven't, you might want to check those out first, but we'll be going at a slow pace, so you should be able to follow along. It's just if you're having an extra little bit of trouble or whatever, just refer back to those videos, have a look at those, and then come back to this one. So I mentioned before that we have this AND operator, which is represented using these funny AND signs. We also have an OR and a NOT. So for the OR operator, we use a pipe. You can find the pipe located down the bottom left hand side, just beside your Z and A button. And if you hold down Shift and you press that pipe, you'll see a symbol coming up like this. So after you've hit that once, just hit it a second time, and when you've got two of those pipe symbols, that's how we represent OR. And our NOT is represented as an exclamation mark. So if you go and hold down Shift and you press the number 1 on your keyboard, you'll get this. I'm going to comment out these logical operators, because if I try and run my code just like this, it won't compile, so it'll complain. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to replace my AND logical operator with an OR. So if you remember the last time, we got a false value here, and the reason why we got a false value is because when we use the AND operator, both our statements have to be true. So I had to have an age of greater than 18 and my age had to be less than 65. Now if we use the OR operator, we'll see that only one of our statements have to be true. So I could be, let's say, greater than 18 and also greater than 65, or I could be less than 18 but also less than 65. So if we go and run this code with our age being 68, we'll see that this value will actually be true, and we can see our value is true. Now if we used like a number from our last example, like let's say the number 25, and we go and run this, we'll see that we also get the output, which is true. Now the only difference between this example and the last example is this example of 25 leaves this statement true, and it also leaves this statement true, while when we had 68 here, this statement here was the only one that was actually coming out to be true, but it didn't matter because we were using the OR operator. Same goes if we go and take away our 68 and we use, let's say, the number 15. Again, 15 is not greater than 18, but 15 is lower than 65. And you might be thinking to yourself, with this algorithm, would any number we pick not be true? And your answer is yes. If we use a number, the way that we've programmed this, we'll basically get true for any of our outputs, no matter what number we use. But imagine we didn't use a number, right? Imagine we had a check in place. Let's say if we put in something like a letter here. So if we got our quotes and we put in maybe the letter OR, let's say, and we go and run this, this would give us a false value, and we can see here we get false. So the next operator I'm going to move on to is going to be the NOT operator, and basically NOT is just the opposite of whatever we do. So if we have an equation that equals true and we use our NOT operator, it'll give us the exact opposite, so it'll give us false. Or if equation's result is false and we use the NOT operator, the answer will be true. So let's go through a quick example here. So we're just going to take everything out of this statement for a second, and we're going to get rid of this OR, and we're going to change it back to 25. Okay, so our age is 25. So let's go and console log something. So if you remember from our previous video, when we want to compare two numbers to see if they were equal, we'd use the double equals, or in some cases the triple equals, if we wanted to compare both the type and the contents. So we're just going to use the double equals in this case. So we're going to say 25, and then we're going to go equal to age. So this should come out to be true because 25 is equal to our age variable, because our age variable is set to 25. And we can see our answer here comes out to be true. Now, if we wanted the opposite of whatever result we got, for whatever reason, we can use the NOT operator. And simply, the NOT operator is just an exclamation mark. So we would go inside this bracket here, because inside the bracket is our equation, and we would have our exclamation mark. So we would go inside the bracket because the first bracket here is our console log, so our equation is inside the bracket. So we would go then and put our exclamation mark, and then we would then go and run our application, and we should get false as our value. And you'll see we get false. Now it's always good practice to add in an extra set of brackets. So if we were doing this, we would have something like this. we would put the 25 equals age in another bracket. So we would have the not operator just sitting outside of that, and then outside of that we have our bracket for our console log.